So I just finished drawing out the back. What I want to show you here is on the fabric, I neglected to tell you before, this is folded. And the outer edge right there is not connected. It's the cut edge, and this is the folded edge. So the back, in case you hadn't thought of it, depends on how much of a novice you are, but the back side you want to have on the fold because you don't want to seam. So when I cut this shape out and open it up, it's going to be one solid piece. But when I cut that shape out, it's going to be two separate pieces, which is exactly how they go on our model here. Is you have the two front pieces and the one back piece. So now we're on to the hood. As you can see, I did the front as the hood shows. But as far as the back, I just kind of guessed and just threw it out as far as I could. I'm looking for volume, so it really doesn't matter to me how far out I go. I'm really trying to get as much out of this fabric as I possibly can. Now, in trying this hoodie on, I know that this just fits from shoulder to head. It's rather snug. So I already know that I'm going to want to add a little bit more just to that length. From what we talked about before with the front, I wasn't demonstrating on this, but on my robe, there was that distance I was trying to span on the front collar. I did measure it, and it was roughly 10 inches, which is what I have here. So on top of this, I'm going to give about, I don't know, maybe 3 inches of wiggle room in addition to the 10 inches to ensure that I have plenty of room for not only to house my head, but if I have my hair up, if I have it down, it would be nice to let my hair be down in the back, because this type of hoodie is actually very uncomfortable for women with long hair because there's really no room for your hair. So it ends up getting pushed up here in the front in your face, and it gets in your face, and you try to put it down your back, and it's all very tight. So this is going to be much more comfortable for me too, especially days like today when I have my hair braided or in a ponytail. It's just going to make it so much easier and more room for that. And so I'm done with this pattern. And now, based on what I already have going, as you can see here, I am going to put down my measuring tape. Now this is my 10 inches, so I'm going to just do my 10 and mark. And then I'm just going to give it as much extra room as I feel that I need, and then begin cutting. Once I begin cutting this brown, I'm going to then lay down the green and do the exact same thing. I'm going to trace. I won't be showing you that because there's really no point. But once I have both my green and my brown pieces identical, then I'm going to begin sewing them together, and I'll be right back. So both cloaks are done for the most part. They are two separate ones, so I'm not worried about the edges right now, because when I combine them together to make them reversible, that will fix that. I just wanted to show you the hood and how I'm putting it on, because it's so incredibly large you can get lost in the fabric and really lose your place and where you're supposed to be sewing. So I just wanted to show you how I'm doing it. Obviously, I'm using the mannequin. If you don't have one, hopefully you have someone nearby who you can use as a replacement. Otherwise, it's very difficult to do this on yourself because you really can't see the back of your neck, which in this case we're going to need to see. So all I did was I just placed inside out. I'll show you on the green one, actually, before I try to go into too much of an explanation. Basically, we have the two pieces. We have the cape itself, or the cloak part, and then we have the hood. Okay, on the green one, something interesting always happens to me when I sew. It turns out that the green fabric was a few inches shorter in width than the brown, so I wound up having to attach another piece. But it may end up being interesting in making a design element. So I'm not all that worried. But basically you have your two pieces. So what you want to do is, you see how these are outside edges. This is the bad side, I'm calling it, quote unquote bad side. And then if I can turn this inside out, it's sticking, but this is the good side because it shows the nice closed seam. So what I'm referring to is, you know, bad side out, I guess is what I want to say. So on the cloak, it's good side out because this is the way it's going to show. But on the hood, I'm putting it on bad side out. Why? Because this is going to come up and over, and then it will turn into good side out. Especially when things are going well, I completely forget that I need to be mindful of inside, outside, and I start putting things together, and lo and behold, I need to start taking stitches out. So just be mindful at this point of how it's going to fit together. Now, I have put it onto the neckline. Clearly, it's going to need to be trimmed because when I put this all together, I was using a hodgepodge of things. It's not a preset. And you can see there are like extra pieces where it doesn't quite fit together, and I don't want to force it. I will just snip that part off. But at the same time, I wanted to wait until this point because on the hood, the same thing will happen. There's going to be overlap. So all I did, because I want the base of the hood to attach to the neckline, that's pretty much what I did, was I laid it over like that. And then I made sure that the longest ends that I made came all the way down to the 10-inch point that I needed. And so I have my ends secure. I have these far ends secure, and then the back of the neck is secure. So I have them pinned, I'm pretty sure. There's a pin in here somewhere. There it is. So that's secure. Now the in-between is where I'm just going to go through, and I've already started putting pins, of just creating a straight line all the way down. And then after that, you'll be at the point I'm at where you're going to start trimming. You're going to start cutting and cutting and cutting and making everything a nice clean line so that when you put it on the sewing machine, you're not getting confused with which edge of fabric to follow, because they'll all be the same. So again, at this point, don't worry about things that don't quite line up. You know, this does not line up, and that's fine. It will get trimmed right there, and then everything will be nice and even. So now I'm just going to sew on the hood itself. Once I've done that, I'm going to do it for the green one.